I think that Donald Trump and his buddies are basically picking apart the American empire's dying corpse for scraps. That's what I think. One of the most terrifying aspects of the big booty bill was America and the American government officially moving away from renewables. Okay? This is one of the major reasons why Elon Musk understandably was frustrated with the bill. But like that signaled to the whole world that this next wave, this actual, like this only exit ramp that we as a global planet have to move away from this finite resource of fossil fuels, America is not going to participate in this. We have completely conceded that ground to China. China owns the monopoly on this. They will be the leader of the future. They will. We don't even want to compete with them. We don't want to try and pump R&D and funds into making batteries more efficient, making batteries at all. We're not doing any of that. We have just completely given up on that. It is a way for the American government to basically say, you know what? We're losing the game of Monopoly, so I would rather flip the table and wipe it all out than to lose to China in the game of Monopoly. That is what we're doing. Are we cooked is a great question, and the answer is yes. We are cooked both literally and figuratively because of the way that, because of what our decision is in terms of like energy. Our decision for the future is we're going with fossil fuels. We're not touching renewable energy. We're just completely moving away from even trying to develop new technology in renewable energy. It's kind of like if in the space race where we were behind, we went, fuck space, we're staying in cars. I mean, it's worse than that. Because at least with the space race, like, I mean, there's a lot of technological achievements that came from the space race, but like, ultimately, this is a life or death scenario. This is an existential crisis that we are refusing to reckon with in terms of climate change. Do you understand? And we're seeing the immediate results of this, or not even the. We're now seeing the tangible results of this climate change, anthropogenic climate change, in the form of like massive floodings that take place, whether in Kerr County in Texas or even in New York the other day. And we, instead of addressing these crises that are real crises that are killing people, we've just decided we're going to close our eyes and plug our ears, you know, and refuse to reckon with it, and not even do anything to try to mitigate, try to prevent, try to do recovery and rescue. We're cutting all of that. It's just like, yep, you're all on your own. It's a knife fight. It's pretty crazy. It's pretty crazy to watch it unfold. Your politicians send us a letter to say our fires are ruining their summer. Pull NOAA funding. Navy stop sharing atmospheric information with NOAA also. Yeah. It is a very interesting, I mean, it's a very sad, very scary situation, and we're being real. Like closing our eyes and just like refusing to stare at this existential threat that is imminent, or even like the early stages of said existential threat already taking place, and just like refusing to reckon with it is so psychotic. It's so crazy. This planet deleted all life at least 5 times without us being around. Yeah. And I don't know. I mean, what are you going to do? We will experience devastating droughts, ruining the agricultural sector. It's already happening in countries like Algeria and the whole northern Africa. Yeah. Canceling climate energy, renewable energy projects, canceling all of the research and development, or even resources that are expended at the behest of like figuring out when the next major incident is going to take place is so insane. It's the Trump COVID technique of just being like, if you don't recognize that COVID is happening, then it's like, it's as if it's not happening at all. Don't test it. Don't test it. But here's something that Trump is also trying to avoid talking about, and that is the Epstein files. And in the process of trying to avoid talking about it, he just keeps talking about it and extending the conversation. President Trump spars with Republicans over Epstein files controversy, calling it a big hoax. Let's take a look.
It was only a year ago that Trump and his allies helped spread conspiracy theories surrounding Epstein. Now the president calls them a hoax and says anyone demanding more information are weaklings and stupid.
This is why your lack of support and advocacy for indigenous governments is a problem. Yeah, you're right. I'm antagonistic and against whatever this means. Indigenous governments. I don't even. Thank you. As you guys know, I'm famously against. I always. Not only do I refuse to support it, I'm actually against it. And as a Twitch streamer with 33,000 people watching right now, in the process of talking about you're an ethno-caserist? What does that mean? I like that I'm over here being like, hey guys, the planet is dying. America is just not invested in it at all. They're fucking blowing up the planet. And there's so many wars happening. And the current administration is basically picking apart the dying empire for scraps at the behest of capital. And there are people who are like, you know what the real problem is? Your lack of support for indigenous governments around the world. Like, what are you even saying, dude? What the fuck? It's just, I don't even know. I don't know. I'm throwing the towel, you know what I mean? You're more woke than me, chatter. I'm sorry. Woke of the day goes to you today. What the fuck? The ethno-cacerist movement. The Peruvian nationalist movement is a Peruvian ethnic nationalist movement that espouses an ideology called ethno-cacerism. Ethno-cacerismo. The movement seeks to establish a dictatorship of the proletariat led by the country's indigenous communities and their descendants. It draws on the ideas and history of several indigenous and anti-colonial movements. Ethno-cacerism is considered an indigenous ideology. It is currently represented in electoral politics by the Union for Peru Party and other smaller parties. The ideology is also followed by Peruvian militant groups such as the Plurinational Association of Tahuantin Suyo Reservists and Ejército de Reservistas Andino Amazónico. I mean, seems good to me. I'm on board. Okay, I am a Maoist third worldist. I'm in favor of all Maoist third worldist emancipatory movements. Okay, all indigenous movements. I'm on board with. Okay, please stop yelling at me. All of them. All right, let's get back to this now.
Scott McFarland is with us from Washington with more on all of it. Scott, what's going on here? Good morning.
On this issue, Tony, the president is not holding back. The typical fire and name-calling he reserves for his political opponents is now being directed at some of the people who helped elect him to office. Hammered with questions about Jeffrey Epstein, President Trump tried to again turn the page on the controversy Wednesday.
They're wasting their time with a guy who obviously has some very serious problems.
But this time, the president is blasting some of his own supporters for continuing to discuss Epstein.
It's all been a big hoax. It's perpetrated by the Democrats, and some stupid Republicans and foolish Republicans fall into the net.
And in a social media post, Trump called those who continue to press the issue weaklings. Before the election, the president, his current Attorney General Pam Bondi, and FBI director, along with his deputy, fueled conspiracy theories about Epstein's death in prison and rumored client lists the Department of Justice now says doesn't exist.
Their new scam.
On Wednesday, many vocal Trump supporters pushed back on the president.
The Democrat.
No man is a facade as the leader is a fascist for brown people, wants to kill LGBTQ and outlaw them. Okay, I'm not in favor of it then. Okay, that was a short-lived conditional support that ended. Okay, there you go. It ended. I am no longer in favor. I'm against that. Too late. Clip out of context. You are a dumb bozo. I don't care. Yeah, Nancy Pelosi came out and has some choice words on MSNBC, Mike Queen, on the Epstein stuff. We'll get to that in a second. Let's keep going.
New scam. I mean, this is more of a Republican issue.
Bringing this into the public arena was President Trump. That's a matter of historic record. It's not up for debate.
And it's not just conservatives.
Jeffrey Epstein's what we're talking about, and we want your calls.
In Frederick County, Maryland, Pastor Tim May, who hosts a show on community radio station WFMD, says callers of all political stripes are criticizing Trump over the issue.
If you're not going to release it, just be upfront about why you're not releasing it.
If there's nothing on it, show it to us.
Your show is about the local high school, the county government, but you're getting calls about Epstein.
It's like a mosquito. It keeps coming back to bite you, and you have to address it. And it's interesting, to say the very least.
It keeps coming.
It does. It does. It's the story that everyone wants to go away, and everyone wants to stay.
Senate Republican.
Yeah, I wonder why. So many. I've had conversations with friends of mine that don't understand why people are so hyper-focused on this, and I keep trying to explain to them that, like, for the average American, that is a liberal without even acknowledging that they're a liberal, because like liberalism is monoculture. Okay, liberalism requires a different myth making. Okay, a different kind of world building that is not materialist. Okay. So in that worldview, you have good, bad dynamics. Some people are good, some people are bad. That's precisely the reason why conspiracy theories, especially in a country like America, are so prominent. Because conspiracy theories seek to solve the question, why are things the way that they are? And because we are so devoid of any sort of materialist lens in which we view history from, a lot of people end up trying to solve that puzzle by diving into the realm of conspiracy. So for them, Jeffrey Epstein is basically the closest that they can arrive at like some kind of class politics, okay, without actually recognizing class politics from the relations that they have with the means of production, or class politics in the Marxian sense. That's why you hear a lot of people go, well, this is not just about left and right. This is just about, you know, the people. versus the elites. Because that's precisely what this is. Jeffrey Epstein is a very visible aspect of societal elites, incredibly wealthy financiers, leaders of nations doing terrifying things behind closed doors and not experiencing any repercussions for that. Okay? It is perhaps the greatest example of wealthy people getting to do whatever the fuck they want and being above the law. And that is the reason why a lot of people, regardless of their ideological markers, hyper focus on this issue because it's a very obvious issue with severe crimes that we know of that have taken place. That's why so many people hyper focus on this. Okay? It's some of the most vulnerable people, young girls, being sex trafficked by some of the most powerful people on the planet. That's why it doesn't matter what your party allegiance looks like. You want answers to this. And it's very obvious that Donald Trump, a lot of people voted for Donald Trump because they were like, oh, he's an anti-establishment guy. He's not one of them. He's rich enough that he is not corruptible. It was wrong to think this, of course, right? But plenty of people still thought it. He was able to successfully market himself as this like anti-establishment guy. And considering that the Epstein case is like a classic example of like previous administrations protecting the establishment, protecting the societal elites, the expectation from Trump's base of support was that Donald Trump would actually crack the code. It was basically the most like immediate way of moving away from like the crazy QAnon conspiracies to a very real thing that took place that everyone understands was fucked up. Because unlike QAnon, Jeffrey Epstein is real, is a real person. And he had real victims. And he had real associates. And governments have consistently been suspiciously quiet about this major case. So if you're still firmly a believer that these institutions are supposed to, at the end of the day, do some kind of justice, this is a severe ongoing injustice. That there are people out there who have done horrifying crimes and have been associated with someone who is a horrible criminal, and they get to live amongst us. They get to dominate society. Of course, people are going to continue to demand answers for this. And Trump presented himself as the guy who would give us those answers. And many people in his base believed that he would give us those answers on this issue. So for many people, this is the first time where they're like, oh my God, maybe he is actually one of them and not one of us, or working for us. Maybe he's just another creepy billionaire. Which is, of course, the case. Yes, that was always the case. But this is a moment of recognition for a lot of people. It's a wake-up call that Trump doesn't have their interest in mind. Trump is also just like any other Republican politician or any other Democratic politician, a part of the uniparty. And it wasn't enough that he was, he consistently showed that was the reality. With the Israel stuff, with the fact that he did not end the wars on day one, right? No new wars. With the fact that he bombed Iran. He could at least like get enough of his base to be on board with all of those things. But this is one issue where the base is not going to let up. Because this is like one of the only things that they care about. And one of the only things that they know Trump has complete control over. So if you have complete control over the release of these files and potentially, letting justice be served, and you're refusing to do that, then yeah, of course, people are going to be frustrated. I'm a dialectical materialist and moral philosopher actively working on a theory to build classless tool of relatability that anyone can use to assess themselves as an individual in terms of knowing active and historic oppression. I'm writing about my thoughts of memology, virality, communism, and to be honest, anything. Jesus Christ. Chronically on Lenin, Substack. Why you are a communist? That's crazy. Charlie did a video on it.
It should be painfully obvious to anyone that's been following all of this.
Yeah, this is also the other reason why, like, a lot of otherwise, like, apolitical guys who have shied away from doing a lot of commentary as of late are grabbing onto this. Because this is an apolitical issue. And by that, I mean, this is an issue that you can talk about without alienating your right-wing audience. This is an issue you can talk about without having, it's a unified issue. So it's one that you can talk about, which, yeah, Ludwig did one too. Unsurprising. Because remember, Moist Critical basically said, I'm throwing in the towel. I don't want to do this, like, drama stuff anymore. And part of that was because, like, people were obviously yelling at him quite a bit. And it's a shitty situation to be in. I totally understand that as someone who gets yelled at quite a bit professionally online. So, you know, that's part of the reason why, like, you know, people like Charlie and Ludwig will release their takes on this, because it's not something that, like, right-wing content creators and their audiences will yell at them over. Because let's be real, a lot of these guys, regardless of their own personal political perspectives, I think shy away from releasing takes that might alienate some in their base of support, not because they're worried that, like, people are just no longer going to like them. I think it's mostly that they're worried that they're going to be targeted and yelled at, because they see it. Every content creator sees how people get treated if they have an honest opinion that deviates away from whatever the commentary space and their right-wing, apolitical right-wing opinion is. You get harassed endlessly. You have bots that come after you. So the reputational damage is not worth putting your name out there. That's it. Ironically enough, of course, no, it's not even about the money, chatters. I think it's literally beyond that. I think it's because they don't want to be dogpiled. Okay? They see it. That is in the same way that the government actually engages in chilling effects on speech by actively suppressing speech, by jailing dissidents, the internet side of things, the internet commentary side of things, is basically kept together with negative pressure, a consistent flow of doxing, harassment, and threats, and people that come in and try to ruin your fucking life. And many creators see that and they say they don't want to. They don't want to be a part of that. They're too afraid to put their name out there and get fucking endlessly harassed. Ironically enough, I've talked about the negative consequences of this, because, like, if the only kind of commentary that you hear in this space that is considered permissible is right-wing, or people saying they're apolitical but lean on right-wing takes, then that creates an environment of permission for only right-wing commentary. It literally turns the entire space into a right-wing shithole. But that's a totally separate point. $40 for a t-shirt? Yep. American made, union made, baby. But let's see what Charlie had to say.
That it is clear the government thinks that you are an idiot. They think you are a drooling, stupid Cro-Magnon that will just happily swallow anything they put into your mouth and not think anything more of it, so they don't even need to try when it comes to the cover-up of the Jeffrey Epstein case. There is now a desperate push from Trump and a lot of paid shills to convince the public that the Jeffrey Epstein thing is no big deal and that it's all now a hoax. It has now been officially labeled by Trump and people on the payroll here as a hoax. And they are legitimately laughing at you and actually giggling. They cannot help but have like an actual Santa Claus ho 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 belly laugh at this play here, this fucking play that John Madden's playbook wouldn't even have in it, about how they're just going to tell you that all of it's not real a week ago, and now they're telling you it is real, but it's actually like a big fake hoax from Obama, Hillary Clinton, and the Democrats. And for some people, that's enough. He hit the big buzzwords, so it must be true. So now a lot of people are running with that, like, we gotta move on from this Epstein thing. It's all fraudulent. He said so. Even though Trump literally campaigned as one of his promises to deliver this Epstein information, the client list. Now he is calling it a hoax. Now I want to mention something up top here that I'm very curious to see how it plays out. Yesterday I covered the amendment that was put forth that got fucking smacked down at the Royal Rumble, where there was an amendment put forth that would try and force the DOJ to release the Epstein client list and all that shit. And it got voted against unanimously by...
I'm surprised to hear Charlie say this because it's a hot button issue. No, it's a universal one. It's the people versus the elites in the most like obvious ways possible. That's why there's no, like, this is not one of those things where there's like severe repercussions. What is the F happening? What is there, like an actual F? I can't tell anymore.
The Republicans voting to block it.
This is the most bipartisan issue. That's why that is part of the reason why like people will have takes on this that you normally wouldn't hear takes from.
Democrats voted unanimously to not have it be blocked, so that way they could at least have a debate about the Epstein files and the handling of it. It didn't go to the next step. It got stopped there. And there was a lot of like citing of confusion and how like, well, actually, no, that's not what the vote was for because it was attached to the Genius Act, which is a different cryptocurrency legislation. So they were voting to not do that. And then this was slapped on top of it. So they had to vote no or else it'd give the floor to the Democrats or something. But ultimately, the end result was the same. It got blocked. Well, today, there's a new proposal that's getting put forth that is aiming to do something similar in a different way, that has support from all the Democrats and 7 Republicans as of now, but apparently even more will be co-signing it, about releasing the Jeffrey Epstein client list and that kind of shit. So I'm very curious to see how that unfolds. I'll go ahead and play you a little bit here where they interviewed.
And tomorrow. And this is to force, this is a discharge petition, right? It's going to force this bill onto the floor of the House, and then what does it say?
So it's both the discharge petition and the bill. It's the discharge petition is to force it on the House. The way it works is Thomas Massie and I introduced it yesterday. It takes 7 legislative days before you can actually go through the discharge petition. We're likely going to be in August recess. So the reality is it probably will come up for a vote after the August recess. And the bill says to release all evidence for the Epstein file, but it makes it clear that does not include any of the victim information. It does not include any child pornography. It gives the DOJ the ability to protect the victims, but to release all the other evidence and files.
So here.
Now, I'm not the most knowledgeable person. I'm a fucking Neanderthal when it comes to most things, but from the sound of things here, it seems like this is a step in the right direction to maybe finally getting justice for the victims here of Epstein and all of his clients, instead of what's currently happening where the current administration is just trying to bury it and being very clear that they're not even fucking pursuing any kind of action against all of the people they have all this evidence on and not releasing any of the client list information. This seems like it's trying to force that to come forward and maybe eventually, hopefully, get those criminals thrown in jail for all of the crimes they've committed. I guess we'll see how it all shakes down, but I wanted to mention this up top because it seems like it is finally getting to a point where there is some kind of legislation being drafted to try and push this issue more forward. Now, let's talk about how Trump continues to handle this. He is like full-blown melting down about the whole thing and fully lashing out at his own base now. He is attacking even his most adamant supporters over the Epstein.
What? It's POCD, pedo obsessive compulsive disorder. People are really too obsessed with pedophiles. The richer, the better. After the big X, you can't get beyond hidden evidence, become unrewarding, then you will know. Talking about this is on par with UFO disclosure. It's a joke, and we know how to take care of it. I mean, there's a difference between the Epstein stuff and like Pizzagate. right? Like, I think you, like, Pizzagate is completely fucking insane. Or